Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Today I am going to read the second part of chapter 4, all about volcanoes. If you missed the first part that we read at book club on Monday, make sure to go onto my YouTube page and I have it posted there. We read about the different kinds of lava and what eruptions it can cause. And we also read about the damage that volcanoes can cause and two different famous eruptions that happened in the past that created a lot of damage. One being the volcano Mount Vesuvius that is in Italy in the town of Pompeii that buried the town in 6 feet of ash. That was crazy to read about. We're going to start with our first subheading called climate change. Now, climate has to do with weather, but it's weather over a longer period of time. So this section is going to talk about actually how an eruption of a volcano can change the climate. And then I have a fun activity for you to do afterwards. So here we go. Volcanoes can change the climate. After a big eruption, volcanic dust drifts high into the sky and spreads out over the planet. The dust filters out the sun, which means it kind of goes over top of it, so you can't see it. The whole world feels the effect. Days become darker and colder. In 1815, Mount Tambora on an island in Indonesia erupted. So much volcanic dust clogged the air that it hid the sun. Temperatures all over the world dropped. It even snowed in parts of the United States in June and July. OMG. So June and July are seasons, they're in the summer season. So usually it's super hot. But this volcanic eruption was so large and the dust covered the sky basically in black dust that it covered the sun and it changed our weather in June and July to make it snow. How crazy is that? Now the next few pages that we're going to read are about the 3 different kinds of volcanoes and the way that they can look. The first kind is a shield volcano. So let's read about that. Shield volcanoes are very large. The top looks like a giant bowl or shield. When shield volcanoes erupt, the lava seeps out slowly and can travel for hundreds of miles. So here we have a shield volcano called Mauna Loa in Hawaii, on one of the islands of Hawaii. So as you can see, it's not very tall, but it has this huge crater or bowl at the top where the lava comes out. And it has thin lava because it seeps and it oozes down the side of the mountain and can travel for hundreds of miles. Our next volcano is called a cinder cone volcano. Cinder cones are the most common type of volcano, so most volcanoes are cinder cone volcanoes. In an eruption, the lava is shot so high into the air that it cools into cinders. So almost like hardened rock. When you start going higher into the air, not only is there less oxygen, but it also gets colder. So that's how high the lava shot or can shoot into the air. It cools and it comes down as cinders. The cinders settle around the vent, creating an oval cone with a crater on top. A cinder cone volcano doesn't usually get very tall. So here we have Mount Etna in Italy. So as you can see, comparing to the shield volcano, it's a little bit taller And it still has that crater on top, but it's definitely not as wide as the crater in a shield volcano. But as you can see, this is the lava shooting out from the top, and it can go extremely high. Our last kind of volcano is called a composite volcano, which is probably the one that most of us think about when we think of volcanoes. Some of the most beautiful mountains on Earth are composite volcanoes or stratovolcanoes. Composite means made up of different parts. These are steep volcanoes that reach great heights. They are made up of layers of rock, lava, and ash from many eruptions over the years. They have craters at their tops too. Composite volcanoes have thick lava that usually erupts violently. This makes their eruptions very dangerous. Mount Fuji is a dormant composite volcano. Now, the word dormant here, that means that it's kind of sleeping. So it's not a totally dead volcano where it cannot erupt ever again, but it's just sleeping. So it could awake at some point in time. But scientists, we talked about, it's very hard to know when a volcano is going to erupt. So scientists aren't really sure when Mount Fuji could erupt again, but it's possible. So that's called a dormant volcano, when it's sleeping. It could erupt at some point in time. It is the highest mountain in Japan. The crater on top is 1,600 feet wide. Over the years, many artists and writers have admired this beautiful mountain. So here we have, this is Mount Fuji in Japan. So as you can see, this compared to the other two volcanoes, it is a lot taller than the cinder cone and the shield volcano. And the crater is probably the least wide between the two as well. But this is, like I said, probably what we think about when we think of volcanoes. Now, there is snow on top here and not on land because that's how high the volcano, or excuse me, the mountain is. So the higher it goes, like we said, the colder it is, and it most likely will snow there. So that's why on tall mountains like that, you'll see snow at the top. So those are the three kinds of volcanoes. And we are going to stop there. We only have 2 more pages in chapter 4 for volcanoes. Now, chapter 5 does continue to talk about volcanoes, more specifically different kinds of volcanoes. So our activity today is a diagram. So a diagram is a picture, but then it has labels pointing to the different parts of the picture. So you are going to draw a diagram of a volcano. Now it can look like mine, which this kind of looks like a composite volcano, but you could also draw a cinder cone volcano, so not as tall, or you could draw a shield volcano. All of them have the same parts. So I have a word bank here for the words that I'd like you to add to your diagram. So we have lava, crater, conduit, which is the middle, which the lava comes out in the center, magma chamber, ash cloud, vent, Earth's crust, and magma. Remember, magma is underneath the ground, not until it reaches the surface or comes out of the volcano is it lava. So this is your only activity that I'd like you to do today. Get creative with it, but just make sure you have all the parts here, and it's important to use, you can use arrows or just lines to point to each of the parts of the volcano. Now remember, in 2 days, I have my meow hat here. And I have all the names of the friends here that have done the different activities. And again, as the more activities you do, the more times your name is going to go into our hat. And on Friday, I'm going to pick 4 names to send a fun surprise to as a little reward for keeping up and doing these activities with me. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.